Everybody, welcome to this episode of Think Business Live. Looking forward to talking with managing director, managing partner, CEO, pretty outstanding individual. I'm really excited for this talk, Grace Vandecruze. Grace, it's great to connect with you. Your company, Grace Global Capital, you advise insurance agencies on. We'll get into everything that you do as a business. GraceGlobalCapital.com. But first, I want to dive into just you as a person. I just watched when I book these agencies, book people on my podcast, which I love. I'm a business coach. I work with people all over the globe who are successful but stuck. I work with them to get unstuck, and I don't prepare questions for these interviews because I like people who are listening to feel like it's new to them too.
Yes.
And so I just a couple minutes before I get on, I read the bio, and then I just randomly click on your site and watch your video, and I'm so glad I did because you've done some incredible things. You've climbed Mount Everest. You've climbed mountains. So I want you, can you describe kind of? I want to start there. I want to start, in your video, if you go to your webpage, one of the things you say is, I've climbed, if you can climb a mountain, you can do anything. I'm paraphrasing a little bit.
Yes.
So I want to start there. So the discipline, the fortitude, the mindsets of climbing Mount Everest. One lesson you learned about yourself.
Okay, John, thank you for having me on. There's a proverb that says, wherever the stream flows, it never forgets its source. My source is my late grandmother. And there's a link between her and Everest. But she was an amazing woman. She had 9 biological children in the country of Guyana, South America. But in spite of the limited resources that she and my granddad had, they found room in their hearts to adopt 5 young sisters who lost their moms. So my grandmother raised 14 children. I'm second oldest of 7. And
Wow.
as a result, I am one of 52 grandchildren.
Wow.
Seriously.
Wow.
But as we speak here today, I can assure you and your audience that I was her favorite.
Yeah. So I didn't know your great grandmother, but something tells me she kind of secretly told that to all 52 of you. Yeah.
She made us all feel super loved. And she learned to read and write from reading the King James Version of the Bible because she had very little schooling. She would hold my hands, look at me, and she would say, Grace, you have lengthened my years and you have blessed my eyesight. So Shakespearean of her to say that, but
That's
so beautiful, but her most treasured words to me were believe beyond your limits.
Mm-hmm.
See, my grandmother knew that in planning goals and dreams, you should never look at your circumstances.
Yeah.
That your mission in life is way beyond the capacity of your current circumstances and your current environment. And she knew how to dream big.
Yeah.
Believe beyond your limits is a theme that really dominated my life. And as I climb mountains, and I have climbed over 25 mountain peaks on 3 continents, and as I climb mountains, I think of those words. They have propelled me.
Yeah.
Not about my strength. It is about how I think of each and every step that I take.
Wow. That's powerful. I want to talk about, moving beyond limits and never looking at your circumstances. I usually like to kind of interview and guide and kind of play off of what you just said, but there's so much to your story I want to bring out that, never look at your circumstances. On the video on your homepage, you talk about that you were working while living in a shelter, and that there was more, and I think I'm getting this quote correct, more love in our house than there was food.
Yeah.
And so, just kind of expand on this, never look at your circumstances and your grandmother's words of dreaming big and, beyond your, dreaming beyond any limits. you know, I would imagine that the level of getting back to center during those very difficult times, it's easy to talk about it now, but take us back to when you really had to grind out that thought.
So absolutely. So I'm from immigrant parents. We came to this country. I was 14 years old when we settled in Brooklyn, New York. I went to high school called Tilden High School. Interestingly, John, it was the same high school where both Al Sharpton and Larry King graduated from.
Mhm.
So here I'm in this high
This
school.
podcast is based on Larry King. He was my favorite.
Oh, wasn't he? He's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Just so interesting. When my first day of high school, I got an aptitude test. And at the end of the test, they said, look, you can major in either Spanish or accounting. And I was like mystified. Didn't do everything was in English. And also, I didn't know what accounting was. But I'm always drawn to the unknown and learning, and what seems the most complicated intrigues me. So I majored in accounting, and I got a perfect score on the Regents, and the head of my accounting was also a professor at Pace University, downtown New York City. That's where I went. I was commuting back and forth from Pace to our home in Brooklyn. And once again, we're an immigrant family. We're struggling. There was really more love than food in our home. My mom, who was a housewife, she decided to go to college and she was working. She was determined that we would not be in welfare, that she would really work to really support us, she and my dad. So we were really pushing through. And with a strong focus on education.
Yeah.
So
What do you learn observing your parents in that way? I mean, I'm sure it sounds like your family had amazing, wisdom to share and things of that nature. But I think a lot of times we learn more from watching versus only what they say. And so as you sat back as a child and, immigrants coming to Brooklyn, New York, what was shaping your life as an observer?
yes, as an observer, one of the first things I observed as a child coming from a large family was how loved and protected I felt. As I was always in someone's arms as my uncles would come in and out of the house. I was always well fed, well clothed. And one of the first examples my mom gave me was she would sew the clothes, Sunday clothes of me and my sister. We'd always have beautiful buttons and frills and all of this. And we were downtown in the shopping area, and we looked outside of the store and the major department store, and we were looking at little children's dresses. And she said to me, now I'm only about 6 at this time. She looked at me, she said, Grace, I can do this. And the next day, she brought in the clothes that she made for me and my sister and the hangers, and she showed the head of the store, the store owner. He looked at it, and believe you me, the next month it was my mother's clothes that
Wow.
she made that they were displaying. That's how she started. She showed me entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Was so powerful in demonstrating, here is a dream, I'm going to pursue it and literally show you how execution and success is
Yeah.
in front of a 6-year-old. So that the
Love it.
power of her example
Yeah.
was super amazing to me.
Yeah. Yeah. This was kind of the one lesson section of the podcast, but a lot of lessons here. And wow, how fortunate you were to experience that. That's beautiful. Well, kudos and lots of love to them. I want to talk a little bit more about mentorship and kind of go to the bedrock root of that. Your grandmother, like you talked about, what a responsibility that she had on her shoulders. Raising so many children, and what else as a mentor, what else did she also kind of show you through her actions? Because I would imagine she couldn't give the level of attention, that she could if someone were to have 2 children or 3 children. So what did she teach you about, love from her, but also how to be independent?
Yes. So my grandmother was at a time when her opportunities were fairly limited.
Yeah.
So as she saw me excel in school, and as we had conversations, it's interesting. No formal degrees, but she had a PhD in common sense.
Yeah.
So we can do
common sense. I was talking about that with a client today. They said to me, I realized today, this is a very astute business person. I realized today, common sense, not so common. Yeah. So PhD in common sense. I love it.
She understood how to work, how to navigate difficult conversations with people. Yeah. So she became the family diplomat in sorting out any disagreements. And because she was viewed as such a fair person with extending love to so many and equally, that she was then trusted by everyone.
Yeah.
She showed me a couple of things. She showed me that one of the most important things in life is to build your trust currency up with people.
Yeah.
That if you, whether you're working on a transaction or interacting with someone to win their support or having to navigate a difficult situation, it's impossible to do unless there's an element of trust and how to build, not only create it, but build it. Yeah. And so that was amazing. And another very important lesson is that our words shape our world.
Yeah.
It's so important what we say. And I remembered I was working, I started my career as a CPA, and I was working, and she came to spend some time with me, and I came home and she looked at me and she was just bestowing so much gratitude and telling me how blessed and how great I am, how successful I would be. And honestly, the outpouring was so significantly dramatic for me that I looked behind me to say, stayed home. I didn't feel my best, but there was my grandmother just encouraging me, and her encouragement, and it was her words.
Yeah.
The thing she implanted in me that today gives me the confidence to succeed and really move on against any obstacle, whether insurmountable or not, that I may see.
Yeah, it's amazing. I have those people in my life too, where, sometimes you think they gave you the advice yesterday, but it was really 30, 40 some years ago.
Gosh, yes.
A quick question before we move on a little bit. Do you think your grandmother learned that, or do you think it was a combination of learned and kind of came into this lifetime with maybe a plethora of past lives to be such a wise sage?
That's a very, very good question. But my grandmother had a very defining moment, like a make or break moment for her when she was 12. And in a nutshell, she was shopping with her mom, and her mom was a single mom, and there was a gentleman interested in her. Her mother rebuffed it, so her mom was holding her hands, rebuffing this well-dressed gentleman trying to woo her. And my grandmother said he just went to her and just like touched her like this and said, "Oh, come on now, there could be more to us." And my grandmother said when she looked up, he had inserted in his cufflinks a knife that he kept. Literally, her mom, she saw her mom die in front of her,
Oh my God.
literally die in front of her. She ran to get help. It was too late. It dramatically changed her life. And she could have grown up to be one of the most bitter, lonely people. Instead, she grew up with such a softness. There
Wow.
was a grace about her, the most loving, unforgettable spirit
Wow.
that was birthed out of this tragedy. And what she taught me in life, so much can happen to us, but it's our reaction that matters.
Yeah.
And
Amen.
how we process it that matters.
Yeah.
And so here you have this, and I look at her and her face, everything. Not only was she beautiful to behold, but it was the spirit within her. So whether she got that from her mom's spirit, or whether it was the nature, or how she what she chose to focus on and learn from, it may have been a combination of
Yeah.
both. But whatever it was, her legacy is something I'm proud to stand
Yeah.
in today.
Yeah. I don't blame you. Well, I'm sorry for that experience for her, but wow, she sure did respond and step up and bring a lot of light and love to the world. I want to do a very quick, like 60 to 90 second in its entirety mini business course with you. And I'd like you to share three things on how you tap into your grit, because you've got grit, but you also have grace. No pun intended, right? But like, so you have you've done so much, you've been through so much, you've been mentored by people who have been through so much and done so much. And so if you had to extract three quick bullet points on, how people can tap into their grit, what would be one of the first of three?
Sure. So let me just make a general comment. One of the things reason why I love climbing mountains is because that mountain climbing mindset translate from the mountain to life itself, to business itself.
Yeah.
And so I always feel like carrying a mountaineer mindset with me at all times is what carries me through life. So I know in a mountain that you can have all the best plans to climb from the base to the summit, but you have to be prepared to be disrupted at each and every step.
Yeah.
And there's a great deal of uncertainty, and we as humans we're so programmed for certainty that it's learning how to navigate that builds the grit that you're talking about.
Yeah.
So one of the things I would say for grit is, one simple thing is focus on your next step. Why? Because you're going to be embarking on an insurmountable journey. It's going to be highly uncertain. The landscape is changing. Sometimes there are many things you can't control. But one of the lessons from climbing Kilimanjaro, where it says poli poli, and poli poli means step by step, but the focus in getting to the top is that not only do you focus on your step, but you make your next step the very best step,
Mm.
whatever that may be. The ultimate goal doesn't matter. It's your next step. And if you create a step by step mindset where it's the next step that I'm focusing on, that's going to be my best step. And
I love it.
sometimes you're so exhausted that the next step may not be a full step, and it may be a half a step, but by all means, keep moving, keep going, don't stop.
Yeah.
Mountaineers who stop become paralyzed with fear, and eventually it costs them their lives. So
Yeah.
I do think that's number one. Number two, I think, is the power of the pivot, because we make plans. We keep, we just know that it's going to work. We start off on a journey, and lo and behold, there's the unexpected that happens, that occurs, that we had not planned for, whether it be the economy or job situation, whatever it might be. And it's learning how to pivot,
Yeah.
but pivot in a way where we keep moving. pivot in a way where we may fall, but we fall forward because
Yeah.
we're dealing with whatever lessons that fall I learned from the fall is going to help me to my next step. So I think that's another key. And then I think the third that to keep in mind in a mountaineer mindset, never underestimate the power of courage. The
Mhm.
power to say, you know what, regardless of what happened to me yesterday, I am going to get up, rise up, pray up, and show up. And I'm going to show up with the mindset that whatever happens to this day, I'm going to do everything to succeed. And I think you'll be surprised in a day where many people choose to just, give up or just,
Yeah.
stay in bed, just showing up and giving to the world what
Yeah.
you have within you, your talents, your treasures, everything that's within you, the world is waiting to experience. You'd be surprised how much that propels you towards your goals and propels you to succeed.
I love it. And I think thank you for that. I just want to extract one thing from about courage, which is, confidence usually feels good. Courage, you have to push yourself a little bit, and so that's, I think sometimes people say, well, what's the difference between confidence and courage? Confidence, you do things when you're ready and it feels easy. Courage
Mhm.
is when you know you want to do it and you got to push yourself and it's a little uncomfortable. So I appreciate.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah, courage takes a level of conviction. And you
right,
have to say, am I going to live in my convenience or my conviction?
right,
Because my convenience and my conviction will never live in the same place.
correct,
So living in your conviction will push you beyond your level of comfort.
right.
And that's where the growth is, always beyond your level of convenience.
Yeah, I love it. What do you do when you get stuck? You have so much. You have so many. So much wisdom within you from yourself and others. But when you get stuck, what do you do?
Yes, I find when I get stuck, John, it's from a feeling of overwhelmed. It's from wow, I tried and tried, and I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed, and it's a good indication to pause. It's a
Yeah,
good indication, reflect. It's a good, try to do what's needed in order to regain your strength.
yeah,
So I'm a piano student and I like to sit and play or meditate or do what I need to do, breathing exercises or gyrotonic, something very calming for me
yeah,
uh, that I can do to really reflect a bit more in
yeah.
order to get unstuck.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I rely on breath and meditation and things of that nature. I love it. Let's do a quick speed round, Grace. A book that's had the biggest impact on you.
The biggest impact on me, I have to say, it's the Bible.
Okay, good. That's a popular one. Best
Yeah.
piece of wisdom you would give someone today.
Today, I would say believe big.
Yeah, I love
Believe big. Yes.
it. And finish this sentence. One piece of advice that my grandmother would give to everybody today is,
Love unconditionally, uh, forgive easily,
yeah,
and live each moment to the fullest.
amen. Tell everybody we didn't even really talk about your business, so I need to have you back talk about your biz because I find your business very interesting, but you more interesting. So tell everybody what you do, your ideal client, and how they can connect with you.
Sure. So, in my business, Grace Global Capital, my ideal client are middle market insurance companies looking to expand their businesses. In addition, I've written the book Homeless to Millionaire to really teach everyone how to uplift to their next level of financial abundance. And you can find my book on Amazon as well as my master classes on financial abundance with grace.
I love it. Grace, will you come back and talk to us some more? This was
Absolutely.
great. This was great. I'm really grateful for your time. Think Community, we talk a lot about courage on the show. We talk a lot about pivoting. We talk a lot about, what you got to do now and do next. And Grace, I'm a business coach that works with people who are successful and stuck and get them unstuck. And I love this podcast because I get to get people on the show who help people get unstuck. So I'm really grateful for your wisdom and the wisdom of your entire family that seem to really rise up in our talk today. So I'm grateful for all of that, and we'll have you back on a couple more times so we can get into more about your book, more about your business. But I'm grateful that that your lineage was able to respond and not react and bring a lot of love into the world. So thanks for all of that. Think Community, you can reach Grace. Give them your website one more time, Grace.
At graceglobalcapital.com.
Great. And you can reach me at jondwoskin.com. Grace, appreciate you a lot. Think Community, thanks so much. Stay on just a second. Thanks, Grace.
Thank you so much, Jon.